Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Levet. I'm so glad to see you today. Today we're going to be making our elf on the shelf, and we're going to be making it 2D, so flat as a drawing. You can make this as a Christmas card if you want, or you can cut it out and make it 3D. So we're going to be making these elves on the shelf, and I'm going to teach you how to make the boy and the girl, and we're just going to have fun. So what you'll need for this project is you will need a sheet of paper, a pencil, Sharpies if you have it, or a black marker, and something to color with. I have crayons and markers. If you only have pencil and paper, that's fine too, but I'm using crayons and markers. You can use watercolors, oil pastels, colored pencils, anything. This is not a super specific project. If you want to make yours 3D, you will also need a toilet paper or paper towel tube. And a pair of scissors to cut that, and then glue or tape. So let's get started. So these are some of the elves on the shelf that I've made. So this one is how I started. Just made the general elf, and then I added some pine to the bottom. This is one I will cut out to make similar to this. And then I added some pattern and some color. And then if you want to, you can create a background if you're not going to cut it out, because this one could be a card. So I actually put some garland and my elf on a shelf. And then this one, I made a mistake and I messed the eyes up. So I just put sunglasses on them and added Christmas lights and wrote the word merry and bright. So these are just some options that you can do. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if it's ripped on the edge, because you're going to cut it out or you can trim it later. So I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it in half. Now, if you're going to keep it as a card, you just keep it like this. If you don't want to make but one elf, you can tear it. And what I do to tear it is I take my thumbnail and I score it or drag it along the sides. And then I open it back up and I do it again. That's if you can't cut it. And then I just tear it carefully. And there's my paper. So I have several pieces of torn paper that I'm going to be using to make my elf on the shelf. So the first thing I'm going to do is there are lots of different elves on the shelf, but I liked the one that most of you see and use. So I'm going to start by finding the center of my page. So the center of my page is here. Now, if you're not sure, you can always fold it and just do a little quick pinch. I prefer not to do that, but if you need to do that, that's fine. So this is where my center of my page. I'm using a pencil now, and I would prefer that you use a pencil, but I'm going to go ahead and switch to a marker because I think it's easier to see on the camera. So I'm going to start with a slightly curved line to make my hat, and I'm going to go up on either side. And then this curve is right here. I'm going to do that curve again. And this is going to be the, the brim of the hat right here. So now I'm going to take my hat and I'm going to go straight up to the middle and then straight back down. And this is a pretty tall hat. You don't have to make it that tall, but I like the tall hat. And so now I'm going to move on to the hair. If I'm going too fast, you feel welcome to pause in between steps. So the center of my hat, I'm going to move slightly over to the side of my finger. So I put my finger there and I'm going to put a little dot. And I'm going to create an upside down, kind of like a Hershey kiss. And that's the curl for the hair. All elves have the same hairstyle, even the girls. You can always add more hair to the girl. So we're going to do that in a moment. I'm going to come over here to the side and I'm going to just go as far as the side of my hat. So I'm going to come down. And then over here, I'm going to come to the middle of that Hershey kiss and I'm going to swing it over and come down again. So now I've got my 3 parts of my hair. So if you want to see, those are the 3 parts I just drew. Next, I'm going to add 1 ear because he's looking to the side. So I'm only going to see one of his ears, or her. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a wide U shape. And there's my head. Now I call this a number 7 nose. So I'm going to come down the center, turn this slightly, just slightly, and I'm going to write the number 7. And that's my number 7 nose. Some people like to do an L nose. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You can do a little curved nose. I call this a smile nose. It's a little smile, whatever kind of nose you want to make. The next part is fairly easy. You're going to make 2 ovals approximately the same size. Try to make them the same size. Now I'm going to add a little half circle in the corner and then another half circle for the eyes. I like to color my eyes in. You can color yours in any color. I'm just going to make mine black. So I'm going to just make mine black, and I'm keeping that little white dot. That is called the highlight or the sparkle for the eye. Makes them look more alive. Now I'm going to do a half smile. So I'm going to do a little curve, and then I'm going to come down and stop right about where the nose is. I'm going to repeat that, but I'm going to go back. So I'm going back up to make my smile. Now I'm going to come down and do 2 small lines and a curve for the neck. And I'm going to create the star collar. The star collar is just a bunch of triangles. So we're going to do that together. So I'm going to draw a line and a line for his shoulders. And you want to get pretty close to the edge. And then I'm going to create a triangle. I'm going to come down here to the middle, and I'm going to do a triangle there. And then I'm just going to add another triangle here. Triangle here, triangle here. I'm not closing my triangle because it's going to connect. So there are my shoulders. The next part is the arms. And the arms are going to wrap around each other and overlap at the hands. So I'm going to come right here to this corner, come in just a teeny tiny bit, and I'm going to curve my arm. And I don't want to go past this. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. They don't have to be perfect. It's fine if it's not perfect. Then I'm going to go over just a slight bit, and I'm going to come back around and make that the arm. And then do the same thing over here. Come back around, make that the arm. And then I'm going to add a U. Now, if you need to turn your paper to make your U, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. This one is overlapped, so I'm not going to see my whole U. It's just going to be 2 lines that kind of connect. And I like to put a little cuff or a little extra line for the bottom part of his shirt. Here's my cuff on my shirt, so I like to add a little cuff. Now, this makes him look really wide, and he is really wide because of his arms. I'm going to, right here where his arm is, I'm going to come straight down, and I'm going to be making his body. And it's a rectangle or a square. I do not want to go to the very bottom of the page yet. So I'm going to swoop it over this way. All right. Now I'm going to be making the legs. So I'm going to make a rectangle that's going to jump over the arms. So I'm going to do a rectangle, not past that center part, and I'm going to come and continue down. Now I'm going to add a shoe. So I'm going to make a U that is a sideways U and a U that is a sideways U right here. And I didn't carry mine all the way down. It really should have been all the way down to that line, but it's not a problem because I can color in my shoe and no one will ever see my mistake. That's the great thing about making mistakes in art. You can fix them most of the time. And if you're using a pencil, you could erase. All right, so the last part of this is going to be making the legs look 3D so that they actually look like his legs are folded. So I'm going to take this point and I'm going to draw a very tight diagonal line. So I'm going to come down and make a tight diagonal line. So there's his leg folded. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to just do that tight diagonal line. And there you have it. that is my elf on the shelf. Now, if you want to add color, I'm going to show you some of the color, and then we're going to turn this boy elf into a girl elf. So this is a girl I did earlier, and I just put pigtails on her. But I want you to notice that I made her collar and her hat match, and then I added the shoes. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you wish. Here, I added a little candy cane. You could cut a little slit in there and actually add a real candy cane if you wanted to. Here's one. His arms are a little bit lower. You could have your arms lower, and he's sitting on a shelf, and he's just red with the green. Not that exciting, but you know, cute. And then this one I did the pants, the lines on the collar, and the lines on the hat. And if you'll notice, for this one I did the diagonal lines going one direction and then the opposite direction on that back folded part of his leg. Same thing here. It just makes it look a little bit more 3D. So now I'm going to show you how to make this into a girl. So one way would be to draw two pigtails. So you would just come out here and you would draw kind of a curve and a little zigzag on the end and be done with that. Another way you could do it is you could add a braid and just do kind of lumps. I did 3 little lumps and then a little zigzag, and I put a bow. I'm going to be making her hair a little bit, just kind of shoulder length. So she's going to have her hair, and it's going to just kind of curve in like this. And I'm just going to do some lines, and the same thing on this side. And if you wanted to put a little bow, I'm going to show you how to make a bow. You could put it in her hair, you could put it on her hat, really doesn't matter. I'm going to actually put a bow on her hat. So the first thing I want to do for her hat is I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to draw a J. And then I'm going to repeat that J, but I'm going to move it inside. And then I'm crossing it and crossing it. Now I have this line across there, and I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to put a circle right there. And then I'm going to add a black oval and another black oval. And then I'm going to make a curve and a curve. And then I'm going to go diagonally up, and I have a cute little bow. So when I go and add color to this, it will really show up well. So I'm going to make a green bow, and then I'm going to make my red candy cane. And I'm not going to color my whole elf, but you can make this match however you wish. Be different. They don't all have to match. So I'm going to do diagonal lines for my candy cane. And then if I color my hat in red, it'll show up. You could have her holding a candy cane. There's all sorts of things you could do. So after you've done this, after you've made your elf on the shelf, what you want to do is you want to color them. Now, my personal preference is I prefer crayons for skin tone. I think they work the best. Markers don't tend to match. The browns are too dark, and they never have a peach, and I don't want my skin to be yellow or orange. So I'm going to use a crayon, and you will notice that my crayon is very, very tiny. Both my brown and my peach, I use them all the time, and they're very tiny. They still work, so I'm going to use them. So I'm going to make him peach today, and I'm going to color in his ear. Don't forget to do the ear, and don't forget to do the neck. Your neck and your ear should match your face. So whatever color your face is, if you wanted to make a Grinch elf, and you wanted him to have a green face, then you would need to have a green ear and a green neck. It really doesn't matter, whatever color you want to use. I've also made tan before, and I've done the peach with the brown on top, and it looked just great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my scissors to cut him out. Now, I have not torn this paper, so I'm going to do that really quickly. Remember I said, whoops, can't get it started. Okay, once you get it started, and then I can just tear along the sides. One thing I added, and I did not tell you this earlier, was I added the pine. And the pine is super easy to do. You do not have to add the pine. It works just as fine not to. But to add the pine, I'm going to do it on this one. I just did 3 little lines. And if you want to, you can even do some lines there. And then you just take, that's done with the brown. And then you just take green and you just draw some little lines out. You could add berries to this if you wanted to. I just like this because I think it makes it festive. But again, you don't have to. You don't have to add this. And I have done them both ways, with and without it. I just like it for the extra support. All right, so this is one that I cut out without the pine. And you'll notice on this one, I cut him out with a little bit of a bubble. That just gave him some extra support. This one I cut right beside her, and that's the one I'm gonna do today. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna cut very close to my pine. And again, if you don't want the pine, cut it. Don't draw it. Don't cut it out. Don't have it. I'm just gonna have my pine because I like it. All right, so I'm going around my pine. And then you'll notice I am opening my scissors and I'm moving my paper. I am not moving my scissors around. I'm just kind of, I call it driving my paper. My paper gets moved and I get a nice clean cut when I do that. Now I'm going to cut this all the way off because it's in my way. All right, and it makes it easier to cut. All right, and then I'm going to come back down here. And I'm doing the same thing. Cutting close. All right. Now I'm going to fold right here where his feet are. So his feet are going to fold up. So right where his feet are. And then I'm going to flip him over, and where that fold is, I'm going to put my toilet paper tube. Now, if your toilet paper tube is too high and you can see it behind his neck, which mine is actually the perfect height, but let's say it was higher, all I'm going to do is I'm going to snip a little bit off. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and do that just to make it easier for you to understand. Now, I prefer to use glue and just glue this down, but I know a lot of people don't have glue, so I'm going to just use tape. So I'm going to tape this, and I put a piece of tape, and I just tape it right down like that on the side, just clear tape. It doesn't matter if it's clear tape because it's the back. Nobody's going to see it but you. And I'm going to put, sorry, it's getting tangled on my fingers. I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm going to use this extra piece that I just snipped off. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to tape that on the back to give my hat extra support. So I'm just going to cut off 2 little pieces of tape. And I usually like to put them in a diagonal version because I think it sticks better, but that's just me. And if it sticks off, let's say, for example, I might have gone over too far, just snip a little bit of that like that, and you're good to go. So now he's ready to be seated. You might need to curve his hat a little bit. But there you go. He's all done. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Post your pictures in the comments. Bye.